Hey, it's Vas here from Metro Hobbies, and today we're going to be talking about LiPo battery safety, what all these numbers on the battery mean, and we're going to be putting to rest some of the myths that are floating around on the internet regarding the dangers of LiPo batteries and how you can actually look after them really easy and make sure that you don't have any mishaps with them. So there are many different types of batteries out there that are available, and they come in various different sizes and shapes and voltages as well. Now, if you're completely new to RC, this might be a little bit overwhelming to try and understand what all of the numbers on the face of the battery actually are. So I'm going to try and clear this up for you as quickly and as simply as possible. So the big number on the face of the battery is essentially the size of your fuel tank. The bigger that number is, the more runtime you're going to get out of your RC. However, you do need to be very careful because when the numbers increase to beyond a certain point, it can also have an effect on the weight and the size of the battery. So it's important that you measure the battery, or at least get the specs of it, to make sure that it's going to suit the RC you're going to be using it in. So that's the big number on the front, which in this case is a 4000 milliamp. The other number to take note of is the voltage, and this is usually got the 7.4 V, or it might have an 11.1 V, 14.8 and so on. So this is referring to your voltage, mainly because LiPo batteries consist of cells, and each cell is rated at 3.7 volts. So in this case, being a 7.4 means that it is a 2-cell or 2S LiPo battery. There are, as I said, various others all the way up to 22.2 volts, which are probably the most commonly used for some of the bigger RCs out there. Now, the other number to take note of is the 50C on this particular battery. This number will vary from battery to battery. Some will have a 25C, some will have a 30C, some will have a 100C. The C rating is essentially the discharge rating of that battery. And I guess you could think of it as a fuel pump for the battery. It basically allows the battery to deliver its power more efficiently depending on the RC that it's going into. So if the RC is demanding a really high power discharge, you would want a battery with a higher C rating. 50C is a really good middle of the range rating. It allows batteries to be reasonably affordable and it gives you very good performance. So this particular battery, 4000 milliamp, 7.4 volt 50C, would suit a variety of different RCs out there, including such as the Maverick Quantum that you see here on the bench. So that is pretty much all of the numbers that you need to know in regards to the LiPo batteries. Okay, so now we're up to the part where we're going to be looking after our batteries and charging them and making sure that all the settings on the charger are correct so you can do this right. Now, LiPo batteries will have two plugs, as you can see here. You have the main plug, which will have its own connector on there to match the vehicle that you're running it in. And then you'll have this white one, which is your balance lead. Now, it's important that this lead actually doesn't get any damaged or anything. So when you strap the battery into the car, make sure that it's out of harm's way, any moving parts and so forth. Now, to charge the battery up, essentially you're going to need a LiPo compatible charger, such as this one. You're going to plug this guy in here just like so. And then your balance lead is going to plug into the balance lead port, which will go all the way to the far right with the little tabs on the balance lead facing up. So you plug that in there like so, and now your battery is ready to be charged up. Now, when setting up your charger for charging your battery, once we do these adjustments, the charger will actually save these settings for next time. Of course, if you've got various different types of LiPo batteries with different voltages, you're going to have to adjust that each time, but essentially the charger will save whatever settings you have on there from the previous charge cycle. So what you're going to see here on the top of the charger, it'll say LiPo balance. Now, LiPo balance is how you want to charge the battery all the way to full. There are other settings which I'll scroll through here, such as LiPo charge and LiPo fast charge. These settings really don't recommend using those. You really want to use LiPo balance. So that's setting number one. Then we're going to hit enter here real quick, and you'll see that the 2A, which stands for amps, is going to be flashing. This setting is essentially the tap of the charger. So it kind of dictates how much power you're going to put into the battery and how fast that's going to happen. So the rule of thumb is you do 1 amp for every 1000 milliamps. So in this case, we are charging a 4000 milliamp, and we're going to be setting this one to 4 amps. So we'll scroll this up, until we get the 4 amps right there. So once that's done, we're going to hit enter again, and you'll notice that the 2S is actually going to start flashing. So all we need to do here is match the voltage of the charger to the voltage of the battery. So this is a 7.4 volt battery. We've got 7.4 volts set on the charger. We're good to go. So now we can hit enter. That will stop flashing, and that's ready to go. So to start actually charging this, all you need to do is press and hold the enter button for about a second or two. The charger will do a little self-analysis to make sure that all the settings and everything is plugged in correctly, and then you'll hit enter again to confirm. So I'll show you how this works. We're going to press and hold. So it's done its little confirmation. It's asking you to press enter again to confirm. We're going to press enter, and it's now starting the charge cycle. So this is going to charge the battery all the way to full. Another thing to take note, as you can see here on the counter, we have some LiPo bags. These are actually quite important because these are fire retardant bags, and they will actually maintain any sort of flame or small explosions that happen with the battery should anything go wrong. So these are good to either transport the batteries in, or in this case, you can actually put the battery into the actual LiPo bag itself and keep it there nice and safe. So whilst it's charging, you'll actually have a little bit of safety and protection around the battery. Now, this is a precautionary measure. It's not necessarily a must-have, but it is, something to keep in mind that we do have these bags available. I personally prefer the bigger one because you can hold more than one battery, and it's good for transportation as well. So that's my preferred one, but these ones here are really good for when you're actually charging at home. So now that we know how to charge the battery all the way to full, it's also important to know how to look after it and maintain it. And essentially all that means is that you need to put the battery into storage mode when the batteries are not being used. So when the battery is being shipped around the world, such as these ones here, or they're sitting on the shelf in the store waiting to be purchased, they are in a storage mode. They have a particular voltage setting that you need to keep them at in order for them to be safe. So in order to sort of understand what all this means, as I said earlier, the batteries are made of cells, individual cells. Now, when the battery comes out of your RC, it should be sitting no lower than about 3.2 volts per cell. In some cases, they may stretch that out to about 3 volts, but that's its absolute lowest limit. So that's per cell. Now, when the battery comes off the charger fully charged, it should be sitting at about 4.2 volts per cell. But when it's in storage mode, the voltage for these cells should be sitting at around about 3.8 volts per cell. So that's just something to keep in mind. So what that means is that essentially these batteries do not like to be put away for long periods of time when they're fully depleted at about 3.2 volts per cell, or when they're fully charged at 4.2 volts per cell. The reason why is a bit hard to explain, but essentially they need to be put into, I guess you call it their sleep mode, their hibernation mode. And the way that you do this is by setting it up on the charger. So as we have the charger here sitting on LiPo balance, you can scroll across, you'll see LiPo charge, LiPo fast charge, and then the next one is LiPo storage. So the same rules apply here with your settings. So you match your amps to your milliamp on the battery, and you match your voltage, and then you press and hold the enter button. It will do a little self-analysis. You press enter again, and it will either charge the battery up from 3.2 to 3.8 if the battery is empty, or discharge the battery from 4.2 to 3.8 if the battery is full. Now, defining a long time is, I guess, about 3 to 4 days. Beyond that, you're really stretching it a little bit. It may not harm the battery if you do that a couple of times, but in the long run, it may eventually harm the battery, and it's not really ideal. So what you need to basically work out is, okay, I've just finished running my car. When am I planning to run it again? If I'm planning to run it tomorrow, good, I'll charge the battery up tonight. It'll be ready for me to use again tomorrow. But if I'm not planning to run it until next weekend, I'll put it in storage mode now, and then maybe Friday night I'll charge up the battery and get it ready for the weekend. Essentially, that's really all you need to do. Just keep an eye on the battery voltages and make sure that they are not fully depleted or fully charged for long periods of time. Once the battery has reached its 3.8 volts per cell, as you can probably hear there, the charger will do a little beep. It'll let you know that it's done. Once it's done, you unplug your battery just like so, and you can put it on the shelf, and it's perfectly safe to have it on there for weeks or even months at a time. And that is the best way to look after these batteries, is to make sure that they are in storage mode. Alright, so that's it for another video on the channel. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Now, just a couple of things to note. The charger does let you know if you are doing something wrong as well. So if you forget to plug your lead in, or you got the voltages wrong on the charger, don't fear. It will give you a bit of a warning and let you know that something isn't right. So as long as you've got all of those things sort of matched up, you shouldn't have any problems charging these batteries or putting them into storage mode. And that is pretty much all you really need to know about these batteries in a very brief little session, because I know that there's a lot of myths out there about the dangers of these and so forth. But essentially, all you need to do is just keep them in storage mode when not in use, and they are perfectly safe to use. So that's it from me. Thank you all very much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section down below. Don't forget to check out the video description as well. We'll have links in there to all the products that you have seen here in this video. And of course, you can follow us on social media as well for any other updates that we have going on. And if you have any further questions even, feel free to call the store. We're always here to help you out and guide you through any other questions that you may have. Thank you again for watching, and I'll speak to you all next time.